happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Shadows Podcast. I am your host, Trip Bodenheimer, and we have a very special guest for you here today, Andre McCarter. He is a member of the 1975 National Championship UCLA men's basketball team, also had a professional career, and then he is the founder and president of Touch Glove. But before we get started with him, real quick plug the Facebook page. It is at the Shadows Podcast. And then our Instagram page, it is the_shadows_podcast. So go over to the Instagram page, follow us over there. We have some bonus content that we post. Once we announced that he was going to be our guest, we kind of hinted at it. We dropped the Pyramid of Success on our Instagram page. Go ahead and check out exclusive content over there as well. Like I said, this is a Thanksgiving Day episode. We are thankful for the audience that we have out there that listens to the podcast. I'm super excited to be interviewing Mr. McCarter because I am a huge college basketball fan. And little fun fact, before this idea of Shadows podcast got started, I was looking at doing a college basketball podcast. And that's something that I've always been passionate about growing up, playing basketball from sun up to sundown on the weekends and after school, and just going to the library and looking at the old almanacs and reading the old Final Four past champions. It just intrigued me as a kid, and then watching the old ESPN films from past Final Fours. So me as a fan, this is really cool for me today to have this experience. Now, before we get started, I'm going to read off some of his accolades and then go ahead and introduce him to the show. We're going to have our rapid fires. He is a 1971 Parade First Team All-American, 3 Final Four appearances, member of the 1975 National Championship team. He set the NCAA National Championship assist record with 14 assists in 1975. He then went on to be drafted 6th round of the NBA draft, 89th overall by the Kansas City Kings. He was the Continental Basketball Association MVP in 1979 and also the Newcomer of the Year, 1979. And he was the CBA Assist Leader 1979, 80, 1982, and then founder, president of Touch Glove, which we are going to get deep into Touch Glove as well. Mr. McCarter, thank you very much for joining us here on Shadows Podcast.
Yeah, it's a pleasure being here.
So first thing I want to do is we always start this off with our guests. We throw 4 just random rapid fire questions at them. First one from you. From Philly, favorite Rocky film?
Well, Rocky 1, the first one that lit the fire.
Okay, the one with Apollo Creed at was it Spectrum, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Speaking of that, what is your favorite venue that you played at? Favorite arena?
Oh, Madison Square Garden.
No Madison Square Garden. I thought you were gonna say Poly Pavilion. I was gonna say without including that one. 2020. If you could play for one college program, who would it be?
Duke.
I see I'm a Tar Heel. We'll go ahead. We'll edit that out of the podcast. I was about to say thank you for joining us, sir. All right. So Duke. Whew. All right. We'll get past that one. Oh, this is a good one. The Mount Rushmore of Philly basketball. Who would you put on that?
I'll give you 3 names, and then I'm gonna leave it alone. I got Wilt Chamberlain, Guy Rogers, and Earl Monroe.
Okay. All right. I would have a sleeper on there outside of Kobe. I would have Hank Gathers.
That's a good choice.
Yeah, I was a really, really big Hank Gathers fan. You were born August 25th, 1953 in Philadelphia. Tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Well, I grew up at a time that was great. I ended up living with my grandparents at a certain age, around, maybe 8 or 9. And they lived in South Philadelphia. And I lived behind an elementary school called Landreth Elementary. And in Landreth Elementary, there was a court. And just basically, inner city is the, concrete jungle. So the playground wasn't, nothing but concrete. They had this one basket, and it was an elementary school. So it was not a big yard, but it was a decent yard. We could play baseball there. We did everything there. We played baseball, played football. We played, volleyball in the summer when the little rec thing would come to the school. So we were a very active playground. And in Philadelphia in those days, people played basketball everywhere. I call it the golden age of basketball in Philadelphia because any little playground you go to, guys were out there playing. So as I grew up in that environment, and in those days, the older guys would play. We used to call them the old heads. And then, when they get off work in the summertime, they come over the yard and then they'd play and they teach you the game, and the places would be packed. But on the weekends where I lived, on Saturdays and Sundays, you could come out there and the greatest players that play in the world would come over that playground. So I never, quick story to just emphasize it. Well, Earl Monroe lived 4 blocks from that playground. And so he
Wow.
used to just come over. So he was around. But one day a car pulled up. So I was about, I don't know, 10 or something like that, 10 or 11. So, the guys are running us off the court. Get off the court, little young boys. We get ready to play. All these guys, and it's packed in it, over the schoolyard. You could see, guys are driving up from all over. And so this one car pulls up, and the first guy gets out, and all the guys are saying, "Hey, man, that's Guy Rogers." I was like, "Oh, wow, I heard about him." And then another guy said, "And there's Al Addles." Then, they were with the Warriors, I think, at the time,
Right.
Philadelphia Warriors. There's Al Addles. Then this other guy got out, and he just kept getting out of the car. And I was like, "Man, this guy's never stopping." And then he gets out and they say, "Hey, that's Wilt Chamberlain." And I said, "Wow, man, I never seen nobody that big in my life." It was like just the most amazing thing. And that's what we had over our schoolyard. And over that next, from 10 to um, 17, when I left Philadelphia to go to UCLA, that's the kind of environment basketball went. Everything was competitive. Guys played hard. There was great basketball players all over the city of Philadelphia, in the suburbs, and everywhere. Basketball was everywhere. So I grew up in an environment, and we were taught the game, in the playground where the guys would show you, pick and roll. And then you learn pressure because in those days, like if you lose a game and you try to, they used to say, well, after the game, they said, "Well, who got winners?" It'd be so many guys now. So if you lose, you might have to wait an hour or 2 hours to get back on that court.
Yeah,
So
you're
when you
done.
were in the game, if you were a young guy, the pressure was on you. "Hey, young boy, you better make that layup. You miss another one and see what's going to happen to you, boy. Cut the baseline off, this and that, give and go. Watch the screen, talk when you're on the, they constantly beating you up over the stuff. And that's how you grew. That's how I grew to become a better player.
You went on from there to Overbrook High School. You already mentioned Wilt Chamberlain, Walt Hazard, also went to school there. And then I found this pretty interesting. Will Smith, the actor.
Yes. Big time Overbrook guy.
Yeah, so it's a stacked high school over there at Overbrook. And then from there, talk to us about the recruiting process back then. Like, how did word get from Philly over to UCLA?
Well, in those days, I was, and, I don't like to brag about myself too much, but if a person asks me something, I tell them. But anyway, you asking me, so I'll tell you. So I was a 2-time All-American. Most, guys today, you make All-American generally that first year. But I was a 2-time All-American. And, the way I played the game was just, it wasn't that I was the most, talent athletically, or and I was very quick for my size at that time. You'd be 6'3", 6'4" at the point. We actually just said guards, but that ran the team or quarterback, and back in those days, that was a big guard. And so, but it wasn't that. To me, it was just like the way I played the game, the knowledge that I had, the way I controlled and managed the game. And I was a walking triple double. So, I could score, and I played the game to win. I could pass. I always had, double figures assists. Plus, I could rebound. And so, and I could play defense and play bigger players, So all these things combined made me a champion. And that's what I played basketball for, was to win championships. I didn't really play. I probably could have scored 30 or something like that all the time, because my dribbling, in the streets, my street name was AKA the Dribbler. But I got the name from the boys from New York that we would compete against every summer. So anytime, your competitors give you a nickname. So my handles were so good, I could get anywhere I wanted to do and do anything I wanted to do. And but I wanted to win, and that's how I played. And so I think being one of the top players, UCLA at the time was winning, but they have to keep reinventing themselves. So when they, must have saw a player in me that, because of the way I played, got the ball, made my team mates better, was winning. I won back-to-back championships. That's very rare. I think Wilt, maybe one other group, ever won back-to-back in Philadelphia basketball history. So to do that, win championships back-to-back was a big deal. And I tried to go for three, but anyway, that's another story. But anyway, I got two. And so those things I think drew. I was, first team All-American my last year. And I think my style and my IQ, I think over everything on the basketball court is what attracted UCLA.
What other schools were you considering? Like seriously considering?
Yeah, well, everybody wanted me, but I kind of, was attracted to UCLA because of Lou Alcindor, who was now Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Even though he was a center, his winning, that's why I said I wanted to get three, because I wanted to be like him and win 3 city championships like he did in New York. And I was trying to, emulate that. And then when he went to UCLA, that's what made me follow UCLA more. Because television, wasn't nothing like it is today. There's no Fox, there's no, ESPN,
right.
all those things that exist now. So, magazines was the thing. So you keep up with the magazines, and I had all that stuff posted on my wall about UCLA and all those things. I didn't really know about John Wooden until Lou Alcindor kind of brought it to my attention. I started noticing UCLA. So I kind of had it in my heart early because he went there, and I was like, these guys are the best. They keep saying these are the best in the world. So I wanted to compete and see if I was good enough. So that kind of drew me. But I gave every school that I was interested in a shot. And I just felt that was the best fit for me for what I was trying to do. A lot of people didn't agree with me in Philadelphia. They said, you should have went somewhere else, but that's what I chose to do.
Probably wanting you to go to Villanova or somewhere around there.
Well, they wanted to go anywhere where I was going to show all the stuff I could do. That's
Gotcha.
what it was. Because they were saying, like, if you show everything you could do, you're going to be, a superstar in the NBA and on and on and on. But they didn't know my heart. My heart was I like to compete and be a winner and win. And that's more important to me than, all the individual accolades.
Okay. You end up committing to UCLA, you go there, and you mentioned Lou Alcindor. He was, correct me if I'm wrong, the reason that they banned dunking in college basketball.
Yeah. Coach Wooden and I always would debate about that, argue, whatever, because he liked to keep it. No, they just came up with a dunk where I said, no, man, that's the Alcindor rule, Coach. You don't want to say it. It's the Alcindor rule. But anyway, we used to laugh and joke about that all the time.
Yeah, kind of the unspoken. It was a shame too, because around that time, we'll get to this individual, but David Thompson was there, and watching clips of him just fly up there, and then he's not able to dunk. He just has to kind of drop it in the hoop.
Exactly. He was amazing.
It was still amazing watching him do that.
No question.
So that brings us to the 1973-74 season. Y'all go 26-4, 12-2, first place in the Pac-8. Y'all are number one majority of the season. And then December 15th, 1973, it was number one. And this was a trend for years there with UCLA. Number one versus number two. Y'all defeated NC State, speaking of David Thompson, 84-66 in St. Louis. That at the time was 79th straight win. NC State, that was their first loss in 2 seasons.
Right.
When y'all had defeated them. And this next game that are going to bring us to this podcast, shadows. We talked about when we were naming it. Sometimes in life, we are at the highest pinnacle and we are at the highest of highs, and our shadow is larger than life. And other times it almost seems like the lowest of lows, but our shadow still remains with us. And this UCLA team, January 19th, 1974, number one again versus number two, facing Notre Dame. Notre Dame came back from 11 down in the final 4 minutes and snapped the 88-game win streak, which is incredible. I couldn't imagine a team going 88 straight wins this day and age. But what was it like in the locker room after that game?
It was not good, because we had done something we generally never do. This is not close out a game that was tight at the end or let a team come back like that. That was uncharacteristic. But that whole year, there were little pitfalls because, just to back up a little bit, and just like you said, when we won 60, we tied Bill Russell at USF, who went back-to-back 30-0 seasons, undefeated. Only Coach Wooden has 4, and then Bill Russell and those guys have 2, where they went, 30-0, 30-0. So that year was a controversial somewhat year for Coach Wooden because you got this, almost the same cast of characters back again, and you're trying to do it a third time, and things happen. The key to success is the ability to reclimb mountains. So you climb a mountain one time, you say, "Oh, that was tough, man. I finally got to the top." You come back down, then you go back up that mountain again. It's a little tougher, but you get it again. You go, but that third time, you kind of feel like, "Hey, I can do. I did it 2 times, and I can do it 3." There's little holes that can happen, and that's why you said you had a record of 4 losses. So you went from 30-0, now you lost 4 games doing it. You know what I mean? So little things was happening, and that's part of what my book. I have a project I call the Anatomy of a Champion, where I dig into all these points that you're asking me in more detail about what happened to the UCLA team. But it was, to summarize your question and to bring it home, is that the team, little holes started happening, and Coach Wooden was at a complex situation because he had actually the team that would win it his next year was on the bench. And then you got the guys that won it for you that brought you to the dance here are out on the court. So it was a dynamic that was unique. And but it takes, that's why you have to write about it, because you have to dig in, because now it tells a lot about Coach Wooden and the players and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I do. I have spent 25 years on that part. I'm also writing a secondary part to it too. So it's a lot in there. It's very interesting stuff. And, but it does teach, and military people can understand that, you win one battle, you win another battle, major battle, you conquer at a certain point, but then when you have to go back again, can you regenerate and even bring a better and stronger approach, the one that worked before to get that victory or win that battle is not the same. That energy can't win this victory. You got to come back with another one. And that's what makes champions extra super, the unprecedented championships. And that's why, Coach Wooden, obviously his records and the things we did at UCLA is amazing, because you had to keep coming back, and everybody is a target. It's like the United States. You guys go, when the United States soldiers go somewhere, I mean, that's the United States. You know what I mean? This ain't no roly-poly army over here. This is the top of the line. But that's how we were. And so, when people know that if they are fighting you or coming against you, they bring their best artillery and everything they got. Why? Because this is the United States, and this is UCLA. So you have to, have yourself prepared for those battles, and stuff that worked before, that got you a championship or a victory before, is not enough in that pot. Like, you got to kind of find a new reasoning and a new power to go to that next level.
Interesting. You were talking about, that like resiliency, that bouncing back. Y'all did just that a week later. Once again, number 1 versus number 2, defeated Notre Dame 94-75. So the same team that beat y'all came back. You definitely had a bounce back win against them. And
we let them know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they get respect. They saw an opportunity. And it's funny because Digger Phelps, he seemed like he could get his team up for that one game against UCLA. He
seemed like every year.
He was a real, Digger is the type of coach that, he's real. He can build you up for a moment. He can get you going for that super moment. And he did it because they had another team back when Wicks and Rowe were the stars of the team. And we had a little streak going there, about 47 games or something like that. And then Austin Carr and them guys, Austin Carr had, 40-something points or something like that, and beat UCLA. And that's when the other streak started for the 88. So it was a streak, and then another streak that came from one where Notre Dame, and then boom, Notre Dame again to break a streak. So
I'm surprised I didn't look at your schedule each year and just like, gosh, Notre Dame again. Can't we play Temple or something?
Rivals. They were like a rival, little city. That's probably why they did it, because it was something there. You book those games because there's some energy there. There's some dislike there.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah. So it's a money maker. The gym's gonna be packed. UCLA, Notre Dame. They talking trash, and we saying our letters say who we are. So it's like, Okay, let's have at it. So people like that. That's and players love it. This is competition. You want to go against somebody that challenges you.
Yeah, y'all had I mean, tough schedule. Looking at that schedule y'all had that year, and then y'all go to the NCAA tournament, and this was the last year that only one representative from a conference could go to the NCAA tournament. And this pretty interesting fact: this was actually the first tournament that was designated the D1 championship. Y'all go to the tournament, y'all beat Dayton, you beat San Francisco, y'all advance to the Final Four, and then NC State, you face them again. And you were talking about those little holes. Y'all had a 5-point lead late in regulation, then a 7-point lead in the second overtime. NC State ultimately won that game 80-77, advanced the national championship, would beat Marquette. But what was the mentality like around campus, especially within the basketball program, the off season from 74? Because you mentioned at 75, those guys that were on the bench are now becoming starters. So what was the mentality?
Well, it was a separation of people. Bill Walton was gone, going to be gone. Jamal Wilkes was going to be gone. So that era, had run its course. And now people who, because no matter how great of a person and how nice and how whatever people thought about Coach Wooden, you got your distractors and haters, and you got those who love you. So it's the same thing there. So now people was like, we finally got Wooden this time. You don't have Bill Walton, you don't have Jamal Wilkes, you don't have, this guy and that guy. We got him, and that was kind of the mentality. And so um, myself and Pete Turkovich and Marcus Johnson and Richard Washington and Dave Myers and all of us, we just, hey, we're up next. And so our thinking, and I know my thinking was, I want to be a part of the parade, not the one that just happened, but the one where it was 9 NCAA championships in 11 years. So I want to be a part of that train. And now, but the system was saying, nah, that's it for you, because they underestimated me and Pete Turkovich, as guards, and just the team overall, because we didn't have that superstar. But they didn't know we had great players, and we just had to wait our turn. And so we were sitting over there when we lost, and Coach Wooden had AKA the dribbler on the bench because we lost to North Carolina State. Oh, we needed some dribbling. You got the dribbler over there, sitting on the bench, but those are the guys that brought you to the dance. I think it was Coach Wooden's thinking. So that's how it went.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially if you look at the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years of college basketball. But that 75 team kind of reminds me of like, I think it was 2010 Duke, North Carolina's national championship from a couple of years back, and then this Villanova teams, to where they don't necessarily have all the star players, but they just got really good team dynamics. They work really good together. Got every position just covered, and it was just really well-oiled machine was that 75 team. Y'all actually had a better record, 28-3. Y'all were 12-2, first place in the Pac-8. Y'all ranked in the top 4 the entire season. And this was a year too when Indiana was starting to become really dominant. They had Scott May, and a lot of people, debate like how that tournament would have turned out if he wouldn't have been hurt. But they expanded the field to 32 teams for the first time. Y'all get into the tournament, and y'all had some close calls. Y'all had Michigan overtime, 103-91 in the first round. Montana 67-64. Y'all beat them. And then y'all win the West region by beating Arizona State 89-75. And you go to the final.
That was a tough team. I was just saying, all those teams.
Yeah.
Just like I told you earlier, we playing. Who you playing in the tournament? UCLA. Man, we gonna bring the whole everything, the house and the farm and everything.
Even the kitchen sink.
Right. Yeah, and the kitchen sink, all that's coming in this game. So these guys came to get a victory. They was trying to send us home. So.
Yeah, I looked at the bracket. I was like, my goodness, they had some tough games they had right there. And they didn't get it any easier. Y'all go to the Final Four. It's in San Diego, March 29th. And you beat Louisville in overtime, 75-74. A lot of people say it's one of the best Final Four games ever. What were your memories of that one?
It was a tough game. We were, playing kind of like a similar type of team. And Denny Crum coached with John Wooden. He was assistant coach.
Yep.
And so actually, when I came to UCLA, then he left to go to Louisville and take the head coaching job. So we were, we were playing kind of like ourselves in a way. And so they had quick guys. They had guys, like you said, all the positions, and they had good guards. And so it was a battle. It was a battle of attrition. And fortunately for us, we had that one more play to win it.
Yeah, and then after that game at a press conference, Coach Wood announced that, within 48 hours, he was going to retire after the national championship. And just to kind of put things into perspective for the listeners, at the time, he was 65 years old. Coach K today is 73. Jim Boeheim is 76, and Roy Williams is 70 years old. So at 65, he decides he's going to walk away. Did y'all know prior to that press conference that he was planning on doing that? Because I know Bill Walton said that he read it in the newspaper the next morning.
Yeah, nobody knew. I mean, I should say that we didn't know.
Right.
We had no idea, that coach was going through anything that was going to make him not be able to coach. And you had some of the guys that were younger even than me that I recruited to come to UCLA.
Yeah.
They were expecting, 4 years of coach. That's what they came there for. And so it was a sad moment, but there's a little story with it. I don't know if you want me to elaborate on that.
Oh, please. Yeah.
Yeah, so we come in the locker room after the game. We did a little jumping around and stuff, but not much. We didn't do too much celebrate. We were more almost like a pro team or whatever. Well, I can't say that now. I shouldn't say pro team because these guys celebrate more than we just. Coach Wooden didn't like too many highs and too many lows, and we kind of followed suit. We came for business. We come to take care of their business, do the job, and move on. We wasn't all hype. We only come to play for one reason. We playing, win the championship. So all that in between, Western Regional, this and that, we didn't celebrate all that. So anyway, we come in the locker room, and usually, something like that, you go into the Final Four, the press wants to get in, interview people. All the coach wouldn't shut the door and keep the press out. So the managers, nobody in. So we kind of halfway paying attention, and everybody's starting to move towards the lockers. Coach said, "No, I need everybody to come over. I need to talk to you." Wow. So we come over, sit down, and he says, I'm going to be retiring the next 48 hours, once the game is over, the final game is over. He's like, what? So it's just silence, man. Guys, it was just like, it's hard to explain, man. It's like a moment in your life where you can't believe what you're hearing. It's like, coach ain't going to be here, it's like, wow. So then, I say, well, we sending coach out as a winner. I don't care whatever happens, we sending coach out as a winner. And everybody kind of got some life. Yeah, that's right. You know what I mean? So then that's what it is. So I was kind of like Joe Namath. I don't know if you know, that's going back in history, but Joe Namath, when they had the Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl, he was telling everybody before the game, so obviously the next day in the paper, the news people thinking totally different from me. Kentucky's going to smash. They too strong. They got too many reserves. And I think, they would have been a good battle for Indiana too, because they had all the same things that Indiana had. But Kevin Greavy could really shoot the ball. So Scott May could shoot, but Kevin Greavy. So that would have been a great matchup for them too. But anyway, the newspaper didn't have us winning. And but I didn't care anything about that, and we didn't care anything about that. The coach is going out as a winner. We are not letting him retire with an L. It's not going to happen. So that's the way I played that game.
Was that before the press conference that he talked to y'all, or was it right after?
Well, I said that right there after he said he was retiring.
Okay.
As soon as he said that, I announced right then, boom. Yeah, we sending coach out as a winner, period.
And y'all did. Y'all came out 31st of March, beat Kentucky 92-85. Richard Washington was most outstanding player. Your stats in that game, 40 minutes played, you were 3 from 6 from the field, 2 for 3 free throws, 8 points. But what's crazy about that, 14 assists, which is an NCAA record for a national championship game, and then 2 steals. What did that mean to y'all to give Coach Wooden that final net?
Right. It's still, it's a powerful thing. It's still history, because I think about Turkovich and I, we endured a lot. We sacrificed a lot to play basketball at UCLA. From what we used to call Pete Pistol Pete. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he scored in Indiana high school in the same day. He scored like 40 something points, and then 30 something points to go to the state. He's a scoring machine. In high school. So, but he had to give all that up. And just play basketball to win. And so, and that's the same thing with me. I was a walking triple double, but I didn't have to rebound much. I just managed the game for Coach Wooden and did what he needed us to do to win. So we made a lot of sacrifices. So the media, that's why I said they underestimated. They figure, these guys aren't good as they were in high school because we didn't score all them points they was used to us, and assists and all that stuff I was doing in high school.
Right.
I would turn the games out. People running it out of the stands when I would play. I throw passes, no look passes, all kinds of stuff. So people think, oh, well, some kind of way we lost all that, because we weren't showing it because we played within a system that was built to win championships. And so that meant a lot for us to go out there and prove it at that point. And so it all that came to the surface on who we really are. When the money was on the line, the people you said you thought wasn't as good as you, we came through and did our work within the system and got a championship for the winningest coach in the history of basketball, or arguably sports dynasty ever. Was monumental. And as the years go by, that's how it grows. You know what I mean? When it happened then, it was like, okay, he played basketball, it was great, boom. But as the time goes on, man, he's like, man, and people always want to talk to you about it, because it's an amazing thing you went through. You just only few people on the earth, was underneath this man, that special man, and the way he taught and the way he thought. And that's what I write about. I try to take, what I'm writing about is to try to take the viewer and like grab your hand and try to take you on a walk back into his mind and how he looked at it and what was going on. And it's a lot of dynamics. It's a fun venture. And that's what I'm trying to do in the writings that I'm doing, is to try to take people in, because I have a funny kind of a unique perspective, from other, it's not like I'm any better or anything. It's just my perspective is a little different. Coach Wooden and I had a relationship that started out one way and evolved all the way through to his end. And that story I tell, and it's pretty strong, that because I get a little emotional still.
Yeah.
When I talk about Coach.
No, that's awesome, and definitely look forward to that book. When are you estimating to release it?
Well, everything's changed now, unfortunately,
Yeah.
But it's fortunate because I'm getting, never in my life have I had this much time or devoted this much time to be able to just be forced to sit there and do things that I always keep saying, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna clean this, I'm gonna.
You got no excuse now.
No excuse. So I'm on the verge, and one project is already done. That's a money situation that, because it's a 25-year. I have like over 600 photographs. It's a huge book where I chronicle all his championship years.
Oh wow!
It's pictures. It's all my pictures are captioned. So in other words, if I bring up a person, and it's not just on UCLA basketball.
Yeah.
It is, but it's that period between 64 and 75 primarily. I talk really college basketball. And I show people things, because over the years, people say things, well, John Wilt won because he had the best players. No, man, let me show you all these guys we had to overcome.
Yeah.
The names and the people that you had to beat to get to where you at. So I bring those people up, give them their due too. It's not just all what we did, but it's really showing you how what we did was special, because look at all the special people that we had to overcome, to get to this mountaintop that everybody, relishes and everything.
It's funny because there was an article, I can't remember who wrote it, but I read it doing prepping for the show. But someone had wrote an article saying, oh my gosh, next year Alcindor graduates. And after that, college basketball is going to be up for grabs from anybody. And even when they expanded it to 32 teams, UCLA was still winning national championships after all those years. Coach Wooden's stats, I mean, my gosh, 10 out of 12 years, he won the NCAA championship with UCLA, 7 straight. His record was 664 and 162. Actually, I found this pretty interesting too. He was 7 wins, 7 losses as a baseball coach at Indiana State as well. And a lot of people have said, he actually liked baseball more than he liked basketball. And that's crazy to think, considering how dominant he was. And then he got the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And that, I just think it's a phenomenal career. For me as a Tar Heel fan, and I got the utmost respect for the Duke program as well. I don't think anybody's ever going to get anywhere near Coach Wooden in terms of his accomplishments. If you haven't read the book, Wooden, A Lifetime of Observations and Reflections on and Off the Court, if you're going to read one coach book, Dean Smith has a couple, but this is the one you got to start with, in my opinion. It's a very good read, and you can apply it to your life, not just whatever work you're in, but your home life as well. Do you mind telling us a story? Bill Walton and a couple other players have talked about the lacing shoes and putting on socks that he would do.
Well, Coach was, like I said, that's one of the things I want to bring. Coach was a genius in a simple way, and so little things, because he used to say that it's the little things that make the big things happen, Andre. He used to call it Andre. But anyway, he said the little things make the big things happen, that Indiana draw. But, and so he knew that from years of experience, that when you lace up your shoes, if you don't lace them up and put on your socks the right way, you can get blisters and things of that nature. So little things like that, we never had a blister problem, because Coach showed us how, you put on your sock, you pull it, and make sure that all the sock is over the foot, and that, there's no give way. Like, because if you have a little wrinkles and stuff in it, when you practice, especially when you start the beginning of the season, you just coming back and they putting that grind on you, your feet, that stopping and going and all the stuff that we used to do that had a lot to do with stopping and going a lot. You can rub and get that, and their player could be out 3 weeks or, a month over a callus or something that, it could have been avoided. And then the tying of the shoes is just like, that's why you tape. When in our days we used to tape, your ankles, and then also for the security to make sure that the sneak stay tight to keep the sock from not wrinkling, which will prevent those type of injuries from the ankle and from the foot getting calluses. So he thought about all those things, and he used to, that was part of his system. It was, to him, it was just like, give me a glass of milk. Put your socks and shoes on, tie them, do them this way. It just was like, part of his breakfast. Okay, put your socks up, you know how to do them, boom, you know how you're supposed to tie them, bam. And, this is why. So it was just, but, people like to talk about it because most coaches didn't, maybe get into worrying about that little detail, but he did.
Very, very attention to detail driven from what I've read and heard. And yeah, players were like, I'm a top recruit in the country. I'm here at UCLA. I'm ready to play. And we're learning how to lace our shoes, but it obviously worked. I mean,
let me say something on that too. See, Coach Wooden, a lot of wisdom. See, the other thing is, that's exactly what you said is perfect. Yeah, you was an All-American and all like that, but now you need to get a little humbleness in you.
Yeah.
You need to learn how to play as a team. You're not no longer the one guy that, star, this and that and other. We're in here as a team. We win together. We don't have to like each other all, guys didn't always, hang out, everybody hang out. Like some of these guys today, everybody hang out. No. You guys go your own way. But when we came on the court, everybody know we're a team. Nobody worrying about who gets the credit. So that's the kind of things he was breaking, mental things too, by letting you know, I care about this little thing right here. That it does something to a place. Dang, man, this coach, he cared about that little thing. What else do he care about? Well, he got a whole list of other things, little things that he expects you to do on the court that are details that other people might not press you about before. So he's starting the process on you by just talking about the shoes and the socks is, emblematic of other things he get ready to hit you up with to make this unit the strongest unit it can be when you go out to battle.
Yeah, and he another thing, which I found, I really like this, was that Coach Wooden believed giving 110% was impossible. All you could do is get as close to giving your all, your 100%. He always pushed his players to get closer to that number, but felt that no one could ever fully reach it. And I think that's interesting because you hear all the time, well, I gave 110%. When
Not
practice,
you never hear us saying that. I don't know no UCLA players that play for Wooden saying that, but anyway, go ahead.
It was interesting because it said here, when practices were sluggish, he would suggest to the team, hey, let's cancel it. Then they would protest. He would often see them pick up the pace, play much better.
Mhm.
And if they were still sluggish, he would just cancel the practice, which accomplished two things. Number one, they did their best always, which he was really big on. Number two, recover when needed. What do you make of that?
Well, fortunately, in my time, we never had a practice canceled. But you got to remember, there was a different world between the beginning of his system, winning years, and the end of it. So by the time we got there, this guy was, when I landed on UCLA's campus, they had won 7 national championships, I think 5 in a row. You know what I mean? So you walking on, so they came 3,000 miles to get me to come over here, and they done won the championship the last 5 years when I walk on campus. So it's no question what you're here for. You got to handle that pressure. We made it to the Sweet 16. What? Oh, we
Yeah.
made it to the playoffs. What? No, you came here because this is championships.
National championship.
Yeah, so if you good and you supposed to be all that, then you need to come in here and deliver. So um, yeah, we didn't have that, but I'm sure with earlier teams when they hadn't proven all the stuff he ended up proving, some of them guys probably didn't listen, and he had to show them that I care enough about it. If I'm not getting what I need out of you, then you don't need to be here. We're wasting time. If you're not
Yeah.
giving your best right now, go home. What do I need to? What do we need to practice for? You're not doing your best. That's the only thing that's going to get you where you're trying to go. So it's a waste of time doing a half pace, 3, 4 pace, 7, 8 pace. Go all pace, 100% pace. Best you can give. And he knew how to judge that. He was the master of judging. You know who's working, who's not, who's concentrating, who's not. So
Yeah, he said another quote, which I know I'm going to butcher, but it was something about don't try to, basically be yourself. Don't try to emulate anybody else, or you're going
right,
to fail at it.
yeah.
He's got tons of those in, like I said, Wood in a lifetime of observations and
Oh,
reflections on and off the
that's a
court.
great book.
Yeah, we have, at the time that this airs, we'll have that up on the Instagram page and Facebook page as well. Tell us about, because I was talking to you about this before I hit record. When I was an instructor at Airman Leadership School, I had the Pyramid of Success printed out, framed, had that sitting on my shelf in my office. To a listener out there who's never heard of the Pyramid of Success, what is that?
Well, first of all, Coach wouldn't put that together to help students because, like, if you take kids in the classroom, you got one kid that just gets an A. They're just smart. You don't have to say, did you study last night, James? No, man, I just boom. Then you got this other kid, he's like up all night trying to get in. He gets a C and James gets an A. So who was really, probably the most successful out of that, who reached their close to their maximum of ability and pushed towards success. So the person that got to see, he had to work and really give his best to get there. The other person that they really don't know how far they can go because they just was able to just do the test. So he built that for students because coach main thing is being a teacher and an educator. That's what he really loved too. So he was trying to educate people and he started building that pyramid success for that. And then once he got into coaching, he started adding layers and building up this pyramid as he became wiser about things that were necessary to be a champion and to be the best that you're capable of becoming is true success. So the pyramid builds to you having faith in the things that coach believed in. And then at the end, they're saying that you do the best that you're capable of doing. And when you do that, that's true success. Not how much money you got, not how big your name is, not how much cars you got and all this kind of stuff. It's that you have been the best that you're capable of being.
Yeah, I remember when I first looked at it, I was like, wow, this is a lot to unpack here. But yeah, he spent decades identifying characteristics and traits that help define a successful person, narrowed it down to a list of 25 common behaviors. And just as you said, it is a roadmap to becoming a better person.
Right.
And if you haven't got a chance to check it out, definitely look at it. There's a book on the Pyramid of Success as well, where it goes
Mhm.
really deep into all 25 of those.
Yep.
So much reading for our listeners that they need to go do. What is, and I know you're writing a book on your experience with them and stuff, but before we move on to the next venture in your career, what would you say is that one thing that to this day you catch yourself doing and you're like, oh, Coach Wooden taught me that. I see it now.
Wow, there's so many of those. But I would think that when I'm working with kids and stuff, he had an ability to know what to say to each different person. You know, he said trip. He talked to you one way. For example, we had one of my teammates was Jimmy Spillane. So when Jimmy would mess up, he'd go over and say, Jimmy, now next time you go, when you make that pass, don't do that. Go over here. You should look for your shot or whatever. Okay, Jimmy? Boom. Say, okay, coach. And then when it's Andre McCarter's turn, Andre, if you make that move again, because I had a lot of tricks with the ball, if you make that move again, you're gonna be out of here. And this and that and other. But you know what it was? He knew if he treated Jimmy the way he was talking to me, that wouldn't have worked with Jimmy Spillane.
Yeah.
And then if him talking to me like that, I'll be looking at him like, man, you better talk to me a little harder. You want me to get my pass was great. You got to make me really understand you don't want me to do it. So you got to talk to me. I have a harder, just way about me, so I could take that. I can take because I was, that kind of confidence about what I was doing and where I grew up and the whole thing. I could take that. So he would talk to me a little harder, and so that ability to, if I always think about that when I'm working with kids, because sometimes you find yourself telling everybody the same thing. And I said, well, wait a minute, I can't talk to this kid. I'm talking to him like I'm talking to Jerry over here, and I can see it's not working. And the coach didn't do that to us. So, I'm gonna start looking out and talking to this kid a different way. Maybe I can get him to see my point better in a different way of presenting it to him. And that's something definitely a big thing I learned from coach.
Yeah, it's the professional military education. We call that individualized consideration.
Oh,
And
okay.
he, yeah, that. I'm glad you told me that story, because January when I teach the next class, that gives me a good story to tell to go along with that one. So yeah, Coach Wooden, I think you said what Anatomy of a Champion is the book you're working on.
Yes, that's it's a 3-part series because I actually have 3 components. This one I'm working on now is a component that deals with his me and his relationship and just him. I'm taking you into him. That's what I'm trying to do,
Nice.
using my experiences and how I came, number 1 player in my position coming to UCLA at the time I came, all the ups and downs, the adjustments I had to make, and just him. So more him and how he was thinking and all this kind of stuff. And then that leads into another one because I ended up having somewhat of a business relationship with Coach Wooden because I wanted him to try to venture out into some things. And that one's that's called the making of the Anatomy of a Champion, because I've gone through battles to get this final product, the Anatomy of a Champion, done. So the making of a championship, so you have the first one was talking about, genius of Wooden and all the great things about him. The second series is talking about him as far as a part that people don't know about the business aspects of dealing with him and the relationship that I had with him at a certain point in our lives. And then the third part is just the chronicling of all his 10 championships and, what happened, the players, pitchers, and really being able for people to see, read, but also see, the different shots and different things and explanations and all these different things that were a part of that whole experience.
I will definitely be keeping in contact with you after this and figuring out when those release, because I'm you got me super excited about that now, about all 3 of them, especially the one about the business side of him and stuff.
Yeah.
1976, Gene Bartow was the head coach, and y'all reached the Final Four, and y'all lost to Indiana that year. Y'all actually started the season with Indiana, and then y'all ended the season with them as well. But after that, you head to the NBA. What was the biggest difference with the college atmosphere and playing, first with you played with the Bullets and the Kansas City Kings?
Yeah, I played with Kansas City as the team that drafted me. Well, for me, like I said, the adjustments that myself and MP Turkovich both made at UCLA, in a way, hurt us. It had nothing to do. People try to blame Coach Wooden. It's not Coach Wooden. It's really the system because, you know, you got to know if a guy did something on one level, it's still in them. They can do it over here if you
Hmm.
open the door that way. So, but teams didn't look at it obviously that way as far as I was concerned. So I got drafted in the sixth round when I was thinking I was going to be drafted in the first round. You look at my championship game and the type of things I'm doing out on the court, but those things weren't appreciated in basketball at that time. People look more at you score 20 points a game. So until Magic and Bird came along, just to kind of give you a reference point, those values of passing and big, being able to see the court and all that kind of stuff, that was
Yeah.
me. But I was ahead of the time of when they wanted to get that credit. So since another guy could be at, Centurion or whatever college, and if he scored 25 points a game, they go, oh, that guy, yeah, he can score. That's an NBA player. Well, I'm an NBA player, but they didn't see it that way. But anyway, when I went to the NBA, I fought and battled. That year is the same year that the NBA and the ABA merged. So I ran into not only in those days they used to draft 10 players, 10 rounds. And so I ran into the 10 rounds, and then they had all these guys that weren't the stars, that weren't Dr. J, that weren't Artist Gilmore, that came from the ABA to the NBA. Those guys tried out for the Kansas City Kings too. So through all that, I proved that be good enough to make the team. And so I played my rookie year there. At the end of the season, one of the starters, Brian Taylor, got hurt, and I averaged about 18 points a game and 7 to 8 assists and all like that. But the next year, for some reason, they didn't like me anymore. I don't know what the reason is, but I was always the hardest working guy. I was one of these type of guys that just, even other ball players didn't want to work out with me. They said, man, they come work out, and then I see him 2 or 3 weeks later. I say, hey man, what's going on? What happened to the workout? No, Dre, man, you out there, man. I ain't working, So conditioning never was my problem. So I don't know. I don't try to figure that out. I don't let other people judge. I know what I could do. When I had the ball in my hand, I
Yeah.
could do anything with a basketball. So I don't try to figure out why this and why that. I just, thankful for what I had the opportunity. When they let me play, I played and showed I can play. Now, why it changed any other time, I have no way of telling you that. So I just did what I did. But I was built to win championships. So maybe when I got to the NBA, not a lot of organizations don't know what it takes to win a championship. So you have to be able to value um, the right type of talent, and you have to know what that is. And that's what Also, you go back to Coach Wooden and being able. Everybody couldn't have played for Coach Wooden. You could be a
Hmm.
great player, but if you ain't willing to make adjustments and being able to change certain things, he's not your coach for you. But and you probably when you run into him, you'll probably lose because he got guys that's great individually, but they know how to play as a team. You're gonna run into that. But in the NBA, points and all that until at least Bird and Magic came along, they kind of opened people's mind up that hey man, passing the ball and being able to see the court and running the team and all that stuff is important, it's valuable. And now they looking for me's around now. If
Oh
they could
yeah.
find a guy like me now, they would eat me up, man. They'd be like, come over here. They'd be bidding for me because I can run the game. I know how to manage the game. I know how to see the game. I know how to find mismatches in the game. I know how to run the tempo of the game. But they didn't value that in me during the NBA time. So I let them go their way. I go my way. I have no animosity. I actually write stories about all the past players. I love basketball. I love the history of the game. I write articles on all, from Bill Bradley to Earl Monroe to Wilt Chamberlain, to Oscar Robertson, Elvin Hayes. I write about little features and stuff on all these guys. So I love the game, but I don't let the NBA dictate who Andre McCarter is, as far as people saying, "Oh, well, you only played this many years." I don't care about that. You put me on a basketball court. Anybody that played with me love playing with me. When I threw you a pass, like if you were playing with me, when I threw you a pass, I threw passes to guys. That's what touch leading into touch. When I threw a pass to a guy, my touch was so good. When I threw a pass to you, it had your name on it. I knew I threw you passes that say trip just like he like it, whatever your, way you caught the ball. And guys that had brick hands, I knew how to throw them past just the right touch on it for them. So when you know you can do all that, and when I dribble the ball, I'm the dribbler. When I put that ball down, I can go anywhere on that court I want to go. But the coaches say, hey, Andre, just do whatever you want to do. When the coaches did that and they just gave me the ball and said, it's your team, I ran and we won the championship. The ones that said, oh, no, we want to use this guy and this guy scored 20 points. Okay, we'll go ahead with them, but you ain't going to win with that. He's good. He scored 20 points a game. Y'all ain't going nowhere, though. I know how to take you to the mountaintop. I was trained by the best to do it, but they didn't see that. So I had to suffer from that NBA part.
It's funny because, college basketball, you can get recruited and fit into the right system. And then NBA, you get drafted and it may not be the best fit. Late 70s, like Phil Ford, I think went to the Kings as well.
Yeah.
But then even when you go to, the 90s, Bo Kimball, Lionel Simmons.
Yes.
Those guys were beast in college.
Exactly.
And they get to the NBA. And I think it was, wrong system, wrong player.
It's important. The placement is important. You seen guys, there's a lot of guys in the NBA. I remember it was a guy named Larry Keenan, played with Iceman at San Antonio. And he was a beast. But him and Iceman, they was like the dynamic duo.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted more money. So he ended up signing for more. That San Antonio wouldn't give him, whatever he wanted. So I guess he figured, I'm going to go get my money. So he goes and gets his money, but he goes to Chicago. They got Artis Gilmore and a whole different system. You never heard Larry Keenan again on that level, that he was going with San Antonio. I said, we have Larry, Special K, you used to call him Special K, man. And he over there, the game is slower. They got to get the ball in the Artis, just a different atmosphere.
Yeah, definitely human game of chess with getting placed in the right spot in the NBA.
No question. It's one more middle ground.
Yeah, absolutely.
To bring out. So, I coached at UCLA. And so I was there with Walt Hazard was the head coach. I was an assistant coach. And a funny story just to connect the Coach Wood to us. So Coach Wooden's practices would generally be 2 hours, man. He'd get all his stuff in because he was, one of the things I write about is him being like, his timing in the practices. So he had 2 hours generally in practice. We tried to do his same. We had the information, right? We got the sheet, we got the practice schedule, but we would take 4 hours, so 4.5 hours to try to get done when he used to get that in 2. He said, figure, why is it taking us so long? So it just showed, how, precise he was. And when you tried to even duplicate it, it was very difficult because it was something about the way that's what I talk about to show how he was in practice and what his mentality, the way he came at the practice. And that's what we couldn't all the way duplicate that to that level. But yeah, so I coached in NBA. And then when Coach got the medal, I'm not trying to brag again, but I spearheaded the campaign for Coach to get the Presidential Medal of Freedom Award. So it's a whole story that I write that I'm, covering too, that got him the nomination with all the players from his 40s. I got people to write letters from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s that all played at UCLA. Because Coach Wooden's the type of person that if you tell him, like if I say, Coach, man, I'm gonna nominate you to get the Presidential Medal of Freedom Award, he's like, oh, no.
Nope.
Andre, I don't need it. I know what he's gonna say. And if you tell people, because we could have got 50,000 people to write something, to send to the White House for that. But they wouldn't do it silently. I knew it. If you tell it, Coach Wooden, Andre's trying to nominate you for they would have got me in trouble. You know what I mean? So the only people that know how Coach Wooden is for sure is his players. So I only went to his players. So we got about 30 letters from all the different decades, and we kept submitting them to the White House for a coach to get the medal. Now, it's a whole story though, man. It's a whole diabolical kind of story that goes on that leads to him getting it. And so that's some of the stuff I write about too.
What year was that where he got the presidential medal?
1990. Well, he was 92. It was 2003.
2003. What did he express to you about how much that meant to him?
I can't tell you that part now, but
gotcha. Keep that for the book.
Yeah, it was.
And when you were at UCLA, was that 84 to 88?
Yeah, I was there for 80.
That was Reggie Miller.
Yeah, Reggie Miller, Pooh Richardson, Gerald Mackins. a lot of guys did well, and Gerald Mackins is he's moved along in the corporate sector of the NBA. You know, he's been with the Clippers, and now he's with the Knicks, and he's positions, operations, and all this stuff like that. Pulitzer was a first round draft pick and all
Yeah.
that stuff. And Reggie Miller, speaks for itself. And so we had a lot of guys and a lot of successful guys, even among Dennis and all that kind of stuff that came out of that group. And we won the NIT championship the first year we got there. And I think I don't think they gave Walt Hazzard full opportunity. The times were different then. Players from California, we had trouble recruiting because television was all back east. Everything was Syracuse, Georgetown, and it was very difficult to get these young guys to turn back to UCLA after having some down years before we got there. And recruiting wise, because we had all kind of players in California, but some of them guys were going back, like Stephen Thompson. He went back right there at Crenshaw High School in Los Angeles, but he ended up going to Syracuse and all this kind of stuff. In those days, Chris Mills ended up going to Kentucky and then Arizona. And Sean Higgins was a great player. He ended up going to Michigan. But all these guys was right around us. They were actually used to hang out at Coach Hazzard's house, but for some reason, we couldn't get them to come to UCLA at that time. And I think a lot of it had to do with television. UCLA wasn't a dominant television entity at that time. And I think they wanted, Hazzard to kind of just make it be back to normal right away. And he just needed more time. And they didn't feel like he had what it took to do it.
Yeah, they always had, I remember Big Monday. And it was, like you said, Syracuse, those Big East games. And then you had the ACC games and UCLA, UNLV. I mean, UNLV had some squads back in the late 80s, early 90s. And but their games were always like the midnight game.
Exactly.
On ESPN. It was really hard to you almost had to read about them the next morning on the East Coast.
Exactly.
Pretty interesting there. How was Reggie Miller, like recruiting Reggie Miller to UCLA?
Well, yeah, he was there when we got there. And so Reggie was a spot up shooter.
He was about 74 pounds at UCLA.
Yeah, you could say that. And but see what Reggie, a lot of people when he was getting ready to get drafted, it was like he ain't gonna go because he's too skinny and all like that.
Yep.
Reggie, first of all, was wiry strong. He was like a Play-Doh. You could hit him, knock him, and he just form into whatever that hit was, and he right back ready to go. So he was why he didn't have a lot of injuries. You ever hear about Reggie Miller being injured?
That's true.
Skinniest guy around. You figure he's gonna get hurt all the time. Well, he's the guy that didn't get injured all the time. I never heard Reggie have an injury or anything.
Even those physical Knicks teams he played against.
Yeah. And the second thing about Reggie is that when we used to have coaching meetings, we used to talk about him and say, I don't know about that Reggie, man. This guy, practice, man, he ain't giving us, the whole Skippy. He ain't working hard as he could, in practice. And then finally, one day, Coach Hazzard kind of saw it first. And from the games, he said, Reggie is one of these guys, they pop up every now and then, that in practice, they want it, but when the game comes, this guy, and that was Reggie Miller. Because he's a mean basketball player. I mean, you talking about you worrying about the strength. Don't worry about that. His mental thing. He's a tough cookie. You saw he wasn't afraid of Jordan and nobody.
Nope.
Reggie was a mean cookie, and that's how he was able to survive. That's what the NBA people didn't see that at first. That's why somebody finally in the end said okay, but they wasn't 100% sure because they figured his weight, And then the other thing is that when he was at UCLA, I want to believe, I don't want to take credit for his greatness or anything, but he was a spot shooter. And then as time went on, me and Sidney Wicks used to tell him, hey, man, you got to put the ball on the floor. You got to get to the basket. You get that, but this jumper you got, them soft hands you got, that touch you got. Because Reggie and I, we used to go do these shooting things after practice sometime. And we go all the way out there to the hash mark, like Steph Curry and them be doing, and we talk a lot of trash. Then when we have free throw shooting contests with each other, we used to do no rimmers. You know what those are?
Yep, it's not my net.
Yeah, we used to do no rimmers. You hit the net or any sound, hit that. No, that don't count. No,
we call it operation.
Okay, yeah. So we used to do those, and oh man, it used to be fun. After practice, we get out there and talk a lot of trash. And that's probably why Reggie's extra good at talking trash, because that's all we did, to each other. So
I'm a big Jordan guy, and my wife still to this day, Reggie Miller is her favorite player of all time. Next, that brings us to touch glove. This is something that I'm really interested in. I'm really fascinated by this. And before I get started with it, touch-glove.com. I've also got an Instagram page, touch_glove, then a Facebook page, and actually got a YouTube channel as well. So definitely all listeners out there, go give them some love, check those out. But for someone who's either, listening to this running or driving down the road and they've never heard of touch glove, what is it?
Well, basically, touch glove is something I invented. There was a guy in Boise, Idaho named Kelly Warner, and he used to have all these camps set up all around the nation. I mean, Wyoming, Utah, New Mexico. And so what he would do is he'd get players like myself from UCLA that had a reputation. We'd fly into regular commercial planes into, say, Wyoming. And then we have like a prop plane. So we do 2 days at this place, and we fly from, Muskogee, Wyoming over to Pittsburgh, Wyoming. And then, and so I had access to all these kids all the time. And so one of the things, obviously being, by dribbling, I wanted people, kids to be able to dribble like me. And I used to tell them, you got to use your fingertips. You can't smack the ball with the palm of your hand. So they would say, okay, coach. But then when they got out there, the bad habit would kick in, and they'd be right back to it. And then thus it would make me sad because they could never get as good as they could possibly. They may not be as good as me, but they at least could get where they can enjoy the game more, because they would get better feel for the ball if they were playing and shooting and doing everything on their fingers, catching the ball and everything. Because a lot of times the kids catch the ball, they miss because they let the ball hit the palm of their hand and it bounces out. You're supposed to stop everything with your fingertips. That's where the most senses are. So finally, through a lot of thinking about it and doing some preliminary things that work on my shooting, I was, basically taking a shower one day when I got out. I had been thinking about how can I help them, over and over in my head. And I'm an inventor anyway. I invented some other products, and invention is my really side thing I like to do. So when I thought about it, I said, I can build some gloves that can cut it. I'm thinking all that, and then right away I hear touch glove. As soon as I get out and I think about the gloves, I hear the words touch glove, and that was it. And then from there I start working. So I finally found a company that was willing to do small amounts to get my prototypes. So I get my prototypes, but I'm afraid to go on the market because I don't want to let people um, think it's a quirk or something. This is guys just trying to sell us something, because I don't have a big name, but I got a name, and I got a reputation of honor. I'm an honorable person, I feel, and I haven't done anything to anybody. I want to so I want to keep my name. So I spent a year. I used to go up to the Wooden Center in the morning. I get up 5 in the morning. I drive up there when they open. I would do an hour and a half for a year. I worked on with the gloves to make sure these gloves really gonna help you improve. So now when I start noticing, I said, man, these things are helping me. And my touch is the golden touch. You know what I mean? My dribble, I needed these back in the day, my shot and everything. I'm like, man. So they work. So once I really felt it, then we start releasing out. And then a lot of NBA players over the years have used my gloves in secret. I don't want to throw names out there, but any of the top guys you think of from 2000 to now, a lot of them know and have used my touch gloves. Now, two people that have come out to say something about it is ESPN did an article on me. ESPN the Undefeated did an article on me about 2 or 3 years ago.
Yep,
called,
I read that.
Yeah, Andre McCarter, UCLA All-American, touch glove may change sports. That's a big title. That's a great title. Now, I was like, man, I couldn't believe they wrote that, man. They put me up there in the high echelon of technology and science, saying that my stuff can change the game. I was like, wow, I was excited about the article. So anyway, during the interview, I'm telling this guy all these names and stuff of people that use the touch gloves. And he said, well, why don't you get some of them to say something about it? So I said, man, you ever try to get to these NBA guys? Just because I played in the NBA, these young guys, they don't give a hoot about me. You know what I mean? They got 50 agents and this and that. There's no way I'm going to get to these guys. And they're not going to do it because I don't have the money to pay them an endorsement deal anyway, like Nike or somebody. So I said, but I got a suggestion. You're ESPN, you call them. And that's what he did. He called, at the time, Jason Kidd, who had used my touch gloves, and Greg Foster, who I recruited at UCLA. He played with Gary Payton in high school and glove, and he's like a son to me, and so he used the gloves, and both of them were coaching at the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yep.
So they came out in the article and said, man, yeah, I used the gloves, and they helped me to help me, and I would advise other people to use it. So Jason Kidd went. All I know is that Jason Kidd wasn't a good shooter, and then 10 years into his career or whatever, and then on the last part of his career, he won the best 3-point shooters. All I know is when he didn't have access to my gloves, he wasn't a great shooter from outside. When he got access to my gloves, he could shoot three to a point where he's on one of the top lists of 3-point shooters now in the last part of his career.
I think I saw Chris Webber in that article as well.
Yeah, Chris Webber's another one that used my gloves. We actually had a video of him with him on one day coming out of a shoot around one day on national television. People's calling me, man, Chris Webber had your gloves on national television, But those things are there, and it's a whole bunch of more stories of people. And so now it's a new generation, and the game has changed. So the game has kind of made touch glove more relevant now. From when I started, this is a 20-year anniversary now of touch glove. So this thing's been around. People are not educated on what touch is. To me, right now in basketball, touch is the number one force in basketball today. If you don't have that, you look at Nikola Jokic, the Joker. He wouldn't be in the NBA. Why is he in the NBA? Why is he the best center to me in the NBA right now? Because his touch. This guy's got a golden touch. Threes, runners, one-leg floaters, passes that are just right where they're supposed to be, even in traffic. This guy's touch is amazing. And then the other one is Duncan Robinson. He's a guy, Division III, right? Michigan looks over there and says, man, this guy can shoot. Bring him over here. See if he'll come over here. He goes to Michigan, right? Then the NBA is kind of like, I'm not sure. But Miami said, no, come on over here. We'll bring you in, give you a shot, see how you can shoot. He goes in that camp. What happened? They look, man, you see this boy shooting touch? We're going to write him a check. He ain't going nowhere, right? And next thing you know, he's in the finals of the NBA. So touch is so valuable. But a lot of people say the word, but they don't understand it. So to answer your question, I know I went off track, but to answer your question, touch glove, what it does is I have a patent. And in order to get a patent, you have to explain to the government scientifically why your product can create touch. This is a astronaut. Nobody in the history of sports has ever said they can give you touch. Like if somebody asked you, Trip, I want some touch, man. Where can I get it? Walmart? Where can I get some? I need some extra touch on my free throws. Where can I get it? Let's go over here to Ralph's or Kroger's or CVS drugstore. They don't have it. There's only one person that's claiming to get you some touch, and it's valuable. It can change you from being, a free throw shooter that shoots 69% to an 80% free throw shooter. You can change a guy. What do you shoot from the 3-point line? Well, I'm shooting around 30%, coach. What would happen to your life if you were shooting 40 to 42% or 45% from three?
You even said it's something that coaches can't pick up on.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is so what my glove basically does to make it simple is that it scientifically, it cuts off, we call it self-correcting technology that's in the gloves. And that's my secret formula that I explain to the people from the patent, U.S. government. And what it does is that it cuts off all your sensory feelings except for the fingertips. So if I was talking to you about my gloves, I have a thing called 5-second test. And when I'm talking to a person one-on-one, like I'm talking to you and you were right here, I say, okay, Trip, I done told you that the glove cuts off the sensory feelings. It forces you to use your fingertips. It's real flexible. I've designed it so that your hands can move just like they normally move in the game. They're not encumbersome like gloves normally are. Material on the back allows breathing. So I tell you all that stuff, and I say, okay, here's a pair. I throw you a pair to try on. You put them on. I said, now everything I just told you, you're going to know is true. You take 1 or 2 dribbles, 5 seconds. You might say, wait a minute, man. Whoa, you going to prove all this in 5 seconds? I said, you heard me. It's a 5-second test. And most people, it's never failed. This test has never failed. I've had the best people in the world do it. You take a couple dribbles. Right away, if you're a basketball player, you'd be like, I see what it does. Exactly what you're saying. It's doing exactly. And so what it does is creates this muscle memory because it's only sending the signals of the fingertips. So even if a person got the bad habit of using the palm of the hand, it's not being transferred to the brain. It's cutting off that signal and that they sense that normally would send to the brain, that you want to use the palm of your hand. That's why people's sensitivity to the ball is not as good, because that information from the palm that they're doing wrong or hitting the other wrong parts of their finger is going to the brain, and it's disrupting the accuracy of the feeling. But once you isolate it to the most intelligent and most sensitive part of your hand, which is your fingertips, the most intelligent part, then when you touch stuff, you don't touch it with the palm of your hand, you touch it with your fingertips. Why? Because it has the best feeling in it. So that same feeling is now being built, a muscle memory starting, and then it increases touch. And that's basically what the gloves do without getting into all. And then your eyes and brain work together. So just real quickly, so if you're shooting a free throw shot, just a little bit of science. If you're shooting a free throw shot, your eyes and brains do mathematical equations, because everything you do in basketball has been recorded.
Yep.
So when you go to the free throw line, your brain knows, oh, he's shooting a free throw. It knows because you've done it all the time. It has it recorded in your brain. So then it starts looking at the basket. So if you look at a target, it starts setting up the trajectory that the ball's going to go on. But the one thing the eyes and brain can't do is weigh the ball. You need your hands to weigh how much math is involved with meeting the mathematical equations of the eyes and the brain. So you need something that's as accurate as possible. That's your fingertips. So it tells the brain, okay, the ball weighs this. So putting that math with the math of the eyes and the brain, that's your follow through on your shot. As you keep doing that, and the repetition of that information, it gets heightened.
Yeah.
Right? And to prove that touch is there and it can be developed, all you do is, and you don't want to think about this for anybody, but there are people that have been sight people that can see. They lose their sight in life. Now they have to adjust to a world with no sight. What increases? The sight is no longer there. All of a sudden their touch becomes supernatural. They can just touch a thing. They can do, braille and all these other things. Why? Because their touch is so finite that, so sensitive. So it shows that a person that had regular touch can develop other touch. And then some people, they didn't need touch. Like you look at Steph Curry, he's God-given touch.
It's natural.
But even we've had players like, really good shooters use the touch gloves, and they improve because they want to get better. The people that are satisfied, they say, oh, I don't have no problems, I'm good. Okay, going over there. But the people that want to get better, they put these touch gloves on, I guarantee you're going to see improvement. Like instantly. You're going to start having a softer shot. Your dribbling is going to get better because your brain is saying, oh, okay, fingertips. That's all that's going to your brain. And now that muscle memory starts growing, and you start noticing improvements in all the areas of the game. Catching the ball, even steals. I even start telling people now that, like, when I steal the ball, like, if the ball, I didn't dive on the ball on the ground for balls because my touch was so superior that if I run by a ball, if any one of my fingers, that means thumb, index finger, baby finger, touch that ball, is mine. Complete control. If my hand, anything in my hand or my fingertips touch that ball, I don't got to dive for it. So when I steal a ball, I know how, and I hit it, it just goes just where I need it to go, and it's mine. Boom. Rebound, person throw me a pass. If you can find some footage of me dropping a pass, I might have to pay you some money.
Oh, I saw the one where I think it was the national championship game. It's actually on your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I believe it was Kentucky players diving on the floor.
Right.
And you're standing there.
Yeah.
And
I know if my hand can get to that ball, it's over, brother.
Oh, it was amazing. It was, and the ball I don't think got but like 2 inches off the ground the whole time. Right. And you got like two Kentucky guys laying on the floor, diving for it, and you're just kind of squatting down.
Yeah. So that level of touch is a valuable asset.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm bringing to the game. And I see the game. Final point. I don't mean to cut you off. I know it's a time situation, but the final part is I see the game now because I have vision for the game. Touch glove. The game has gotten to a point now. You're 7 feet tall. You got to be able to shoot the three.
Yeah.
You got to be able to handle the ball. Got to be able to pass the ball. See, before my day, you could exist just being 7 feet. Go post up, get you some rebounds, block a couple shots. Now you got to be able to do everything. You got to be able to catch live. You got to have hands, man. You got to have touch. And I tell the kids, your money is in your touch. What you mean? Because I said, man, your money is in your touch. What money? The money that belongs to you. It could be, I want to make the team, my little high school team. I want to make the JV team. I want to make the freshman team. I want to get more minutes. I want to shoot a better three. That's your money. Your money is in your touch. Whatever your touch level is, that's the money you're gonna get. You're a college guy. Your money, what's gonna separate you from the other people? So I'm giving you an opportunity to take something and say, I was here in this day, and 3 weeks later, I'm over here, and a year later. And most players, Trip, are in ceilings. Most players in the last 3 years, if you look at any shooters, the last 3 years, they're where they're going to be. There's no way to break through that ceiling because there's nothing else there. They do what they do. And so they practice, 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 which is good. Nothing's wrong with practicing, but they don't get that better that you can see a big difference.
Same when they go pro.
Yeah. So with touch gloves, that can happen. That's why I said Jason Kidd, he went from boom, and all of a sudden, I wasn't there. All I know is he didn't have them, he couldn't shoot. He had them, he can shoot. That's the only evidence I got, and he said it himself. But I'm just telling you, you can't get a better example if you somebody that's trying to improve. Here's a guy who already was a 10-year All-Star, going to be a Hall of Famer, and he put some gloves on them to help him, and his shot got better. His touch got better. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say to a person, but, you just have to want it. If you want to get better, you want to shoot better, you want to dribble better, you want to pass better, you want to be a better player, you need to get you some touch gloves. And I asked the kid on this one interview, I said, how much you pay for your sneakers? He said, well, about $150, $125, $150. I said, oh, well, what do they do for you? Oh, well, they look, I said, oh, looks, oh, you for the girls. You want to make sure you look cool and you got the matching, t-shirt and all that, I said, but they ain't doing nothing for you in the game. You can't invest you don't want to invest $45 to get you a pair of touch gloves. You got to invest in your game, man. Because your touch is in your money, and your money's in your touch. You're not going to get what you want unless you separate yourself from the pack. So that's where I'm at.
I think you said something in the interview. You said it's a scholarship worth $45.
Oh yeah. That's my other one too. I said, yeah, would you pay $45 for a scholarship?
Yeah. I wish I would have, this would have been around. I think my lack of height and lack of not having a pair of touch gloves probably kept me from having a more successful basketball career. I opted not to go NBA and go Air Force, but yeah, man, I would have loved to have, because I was telling you before we started recording, I went to Dean Smith camp and Hubert Davis came out and talked. Mm-hmm. And he was telling us, he's like, yeah, if you go out and play ball outside, you need to come in with the cleanest palm in the world, but your fingers need to be dirty from handling that ball. And that should be the only thing the ball is touching. He's like, I'd come in, we had to wash our fingers. Didn't even need to wash palm of our hands. So I think it's phenomenal what you got going. Check them out on the website, touch-glove.com. I see y'all got that blue hurricane color. It has little shades of the UCLA Bruins. Couple of questions to kind of wrap this up. What have you learned about yourself in your journey up to this point?
Well, what I've learned is, number one, keep battling. Don't give up on yourself. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I've had so many no's. That's part of what my books I'm writing about Coach Wooden and all. You wouldn't believe how many no's I've gotten. No, or no, I don't want to invest. No, I don't want to do it. It's a good idea, but no, I think I'm not going to get involved. Or people not recognizing you for what you do, people looking the other way that could help you but don't help you. So it's on and on and on. And so, but I've found a way that, believing, I'm God-fearing man, and I also believe that when you keep pushing forward, you're going to find what you're looking for. Things happen to try to divert you from your dreams and your goals. So, my thing is, my attitude is my altitude. So if my attitude gets sour, my altitude is going to start dwindling down. So, so my attitude, your attitude every day, that Coach Wooden had a little saying, he said, make each day a masterpiece. Just think about that. Make each day a masterpiece, Andre. That means that every day that comes along, you can always find problems. You can always find what's not going your way. But if you try to, work to make it a masterpiece, in other words, give your best, do what only you can control. He used to always say, don't worry about the things you can't control. You can't control it. Put your energy in the things you can control. and good results will happen. And so that's what I've done. I've persevered. All my projects are perseverance projects, and I have other stories too. I had a clothing company that should have been $100 million company called Smart Clothes, and that's a whole story. That's part of with that middle book. I think I'm telling a little bit about that.
Yeah.
But so I've been through it, and I know that my time is coming. I have faith, and I keep moving forward, and I don't give up, and I'm willing to change. That's the
Yeah.
other thing with most people. I'm willing to change. I'm willing to adjust. But I keep my basic principles. But I know when it's time, you know what, you got to change, because change is going to happen whether you change or not. You can go ahead and stay with what you're doing. It's not the right thing, but change is going to happen. It's no matter whether you want to change or not.
COVID.
COVID was a big example. The greatest people, greatest entertainers, greatest business people, greatest this. COVID came in and said, "Oh, hold up. You hold your horses right now.
Yeah.
Back up, slow down, rethink, reconsider, change. So if you can do that, those are the things that have helped me, and but you can't quit, man. If you got a
Yeah.
good thing, you got to just keep moving. You got to take your licks. And a lot of times the adversity, what I've learned for me is that the adversity has made me stronger. The things that the no's and all that, that's what that made Andre McCarter who he is now. All those rejections and no's and you ain't good enough and all this stuff here has made me into a strong person. I'm more at peace with myself now because I know I've endured all that. Nothing can, they got a little rap song out. Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. So that's my little anthem right now.
Yeah, I think that's a powerful message too, because even if you watch like Shark Tank and watch all the entrepreneurs on there, they get told no. You have people on there that get told no, and then they go out and are making millions. But I mean, even when I was doing my research, and my wife, she's like my agent on this show. She's one that gives me advice, helps me get people on here and stuff. But I was talking to her about it, and she was like, I'm sure he had hurdles, and with any type of entrepreneur, you get told no at times. But you're right, it's all about bouncing back, because oftentimes in life we get told no and we shut down. We're like, yep, someone told me this is a bad idea. This really is a bad idea. But you kept persevering with it. And like you said, you got Jason Kidd and people rocking a pair of touch gloves. So yeah, that's appreciate you sharing that. And then you've kind of alluded to, what's next for you. You got the Anatomy of a Champion. You got that 3-part book that's coming out. Anything else you're working on?
Well, yeah, I'm working on something to do with the testing for the coronavirus thing.
Wow.
Another great innovator that I've connected with, that there's, it's literally the number one test. It just hasn't broken through. So it's available and it's going to change the world. So that's one of the things I'm working on right now.
Nice. 50 years from now. Now your name's in the record books. You've had a remarkable journey up to this point. 50 years from now, when somebody mentions you, what do you want to be known for?
That's a tough question. I just, I always gave my best. I always tell people, if you ever watch me play anywhere, rec league, YMCA, just with friends, I always played hard, and so that's how I did everything. When I do something, I get in it, I put my heart in it, I work hard in it. So that's what I want people to, just think, hey man, he never gave up and he always fought for things. And, the final thing is, I help a lot of people. I try to help people. I want to be known as somebody that helped other people and did things for other people. And that's why, I don't need any more attention. I got so much attention from high school. That stuff lasts me the rest of my life. I really want to be successful so I can be a help for other people. That's what my goal is, to make it and be able to help other people that need help and need direction and that kind of thing. I hope people remember me for being someone that did that.
Well, sir, I definitely appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be a guest and spend some time with us and our listeners. We are going to put Touch Glove information on the link for this on our Instagram and Facebook. If they do want to find out more about Touch Glove, what is the best way to get in contact with y'all?
Well, the best thing is just come to, we have a help email on there. So if they got questions or want to find out something, that's the best way to come on to site. And then, you go in if you need help or they ask, want to make comments or say something there. It's the best way to do it. And then I'm always on there. I talk about the Touch Glove in different venues and this kind of thing. So, and then if you want to keep up with us, like you said, you can follow us in the different social media to kind of see what's going on with us. And so we're there if you want to reach out to us.
Yeah, and definitely keep us updated on how those books are coming. Once you get those ready to push out there, we'll definitely be posting them on all of our social media accounts as well. So once again, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Sir, you got any final words?
No, I just thank everybody, and I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to express myself. And I have a lot of information in me, and you pulled a lot of it out, so I appreciate that. It's good things, hopefully, that people got a chance to hear.
Yeah, if anything, this person got a lot out of it. Like I said, I'm a huge college basketball fan.
It takes one, man. One, each one can teach one. One person and pass it on to the next one, and it grows.
Absolutely. No, this was a pleasure and honor for me to have you on here. Like I said, happy Thanksgiving for everybody. We will have another episode dropping pretty soon. We've got tons of guests lined up. We've been doing every other Monday with the exception of this Thanksgiving episode. But for now, that is going to conclude this episode. Good night and goodbye.